Tyson, we've seen you dethrone Deontay Wilder. We've seen you dethrone Vladimir Klitschko. Are you really going to dethrone Red Bull and Monster?
I'm going to give it my best try. I'm not here to take part, I'm here to take over. Furiosity is the biggest name in boxing and the biggest name in sports energy drinks right now.
How many have you had today?
I've had one, but I could do 10, but I'm watching me figure.
Let's talk about what's going on. Let's go back a couple of weeks. Your team, Team Fury, won the purse bids. You must have been delighted with that.
Very much so. You know, Frank and Bob, they got together and they won the purse bid, the biggest purse bid in boxing history, which is props to these guys, you know. Blew them all out of the water. Nobody expected that, so it was fantastic. The tide has changed. Momentum has fallen. Done. And, you know, every great dynasty has its day in the sun, and their day is over.
Let's talk about Dillian White. Since that, I mean, he's obviously waited 1,000 days. That's what we've heard. Why has he not been saying anything? Why is he silent? Why is he not engaging?
I have no clue, and I don't really care. It's his business, not mine, and I don't get involved in other people's business, ever.
Yeah, I've heard Eddie Hearn say maybe he's getting like a bit of a mental edge by not engaging you, by not dancing to your tune. Any thinking behind that? What do you think?
I don't pay heed to it all, to be honest. It's they either want to do it or they don't. It's up to them entirely. It's their game plan, and it's their fight to lose.
When you are putting out these videos, when you're calling him a coward and all of that, does he ever reply to you? Obviously, he doesn't do anything publicly. Does he ever engage?
No. He has done in the past before this fight was being signed. Every little post I put up, he'd say something. Wouldn't he return, retaliate? But now it's on his toes. He don't fancy it, so it is what it is.
How close were we to that Usyk fight, as far as you understand it?
We were pretty close, but you'll have to ask Frank and Bob about all the nitty-gritty stuff about what the negotiations and all that. But we were very close, but they come back and ask for more money on the final day.
Is there any disappointment that that's not your next fight?
No disappointment. I got to take care of the mandatory anyway, so I'm happy. I'm happy that it's a big British showdown and we get to do it in the UK. We get to give the fans what they want, a massive fight.
In terms of Dillian White himself, say you come away with the victory, which obviously you're anticipating, where does he rank in terms of your wins?
My wins, it'd probably be like Deontay Wilder, then Klitschko, then Derek Chisora, then probably Otto Walling, and then I would say him. Oh no, Steve Cunningham, and then him.
So that's 6. So a prime Derek Chisora, obviously, like he's a common opponent with both you guys. Who do you think did the better job on Derek Chisora? You both fought him twice.
When I fought Chisora the first time, he was an unbeaten guy, ranked #1 in the world, and I give him a boxing lesson. And then a couple of years later, when we fought, he was on a good form, young, didn't have all the million hidings that he had years later, and it was a mismatch. It was a one-sided fight. It was playtime.
Yeah, and it's been a mature display, hasn't it, from Tyson Fury?
Oh, it's time. Come on, ref. Get in there. Well, that's from the side where he's not seeing. He's not slipping anything now.
And then years later, Dillian White fights him and loses the first fight, in my opinion, and was losing the second fight, in my opinion, and knocked him out, so fair play. But either way, they're about 50-50, maybe 55-50, 55-45. Very similar, you know, on any given day, either one could win.
In terms of Usyk then, I mean, that would be the big undisputed fight. I know belts don't mean that much to you anyway, but it's a fight the public are clamouring for.
Is it though? Are the public clamouring for a Ukrainian who don't speak English from a foreign country to fight me, or are they clamouring for the biggest British showdown since Lennox Lewis fought Frank Bruno in a fight where two men are from this country and we're fighting at home? I would say this is the better fight for the fans.
Do you think that Joshua fight will happen? I've heard you say a few things about Joshua doesn't want it.
I think Joshua don't want to fight him under any circumstances, and I think he either gives up his position, which he could do, or he could roll the dice and fight him, and I think he'd get beat again, and then his career's over. He's in a pretty sticky situation. He's been from doing all these things, doing well, to being at the bottom of the pile now, and he's dancing to everybody else's tune these days. But that's what happens when you lose favour with people, and you also lose your power, lose your belts and all that.
Do you think his confidence is low?
Yes. I think his confidence is low, and I think he's very vulnerable at the moment. And I think that if he fights Usyk again, it's his final nail in his coffin.
Away from the heavyweights, I just want to get your thoughts on your cousins. Josh and Levi Frankham, both with Queensberry, both going to be out soon. How far can these boys go?
They're actually Paris's cousins. They're Levi's mother is Paris's auntie. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? Yeah. So Paris's mother and Levi's mother are two sisters. So yeah, it's Paris's cousin really.
Page boy at your wedding, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. And then Josh is a good friend of mine. His brother's a good friend of mine. Good guys, young guys, training hard. They give it all they've got. And, only time will tell. You can only do the best you can in this game. And I'm sure they give it all. They come from a boxing family. They've got good people behind them. They're like Tommy Senior and Josh's dad, Jimmy. They've been around boxing all their life. So I'm sure they can give the kids some good advice on what to do, what not to do, and it'd be good for them. It'd be good for them to carry on the Frankham dynasty.
In terms of the Fury dynasty, Tommy, obviously he's gone through a lot recently with having to pull out of the Jake Paul fight. It looks like he's gone through a bit of a rough time. He said that he went out and people were calling him names and stuff as well. Are you sort of helping him through this? Like, what advice? How could he come through this?
I don't know what he's got to come through. Getting an injury in training camp, there's not much to come through there. You can't make everybody happy. There's always going to be someone unhappy. So the mistake that people make is trying to make everybody happy, and you can't. That's his business and his injury. So when he gets over that, he'll be back boxing. Frank's going to keep him busy this year, and hopefully he gets his fights he wants, and he fights. It's quite clear to see now that Jake Paul needs Tommy Fury, because Jake Paul done 60,000 buys against his last opponent, which is pathetic. And if he would have fought Tommy, it'd have been in the millions. So we sort of know who needs who these days. And that's it. If they fight, and if they don't, they don't. I know it's not through Tommy. Tommy wants to fight, wants to get it back on, but I don't think they fancy it. So it is what it is. Listen, they're good for what they do, and they do well at what they do, and that's it. But with Tommy, he's a young lad, and he'll come again. He's got plenty of time to come good.
What's going to happen when you do get in the ring with Dillian White?
I'm going to knock him out. It's going to be the right hand that does it. Yeah. It'll be a good little fight, but all the time it lasts. So he'll come forward, he'll be game. He'll swing away some big swings, miss them, and I'll just detonate with a big right hand and knock him out cold.
Wilder style?
Yeah. Wilder-esque.
Just one more on that, because I mentioned Wilder there. There's all this talk about how Dillian White's been avoided for so many years, etc., etc. That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, do you think Deontay Wilder ever avoided Dillian White?
Be daft. Deontay Wilder put his fist right through the back of Dillian White's face. Who's ever avoided Dillian White? I don't know anyone. Dave Allen fought him with about 8 fights under his belt. He didn't do anything with Dave. He tried to outbox Dave because he couldn't manhandle him. Derek Chisora didn't avoid him. Who's avoided him? He was offered the shot at Joshua and he turned it down, the rematch. He was offered a shot at Andy Ruiz, and he was offered the shot at Luis Ortiz. He turned that down. So I don't know who's avoided him. He even didn't want to fight Otto Wallin. So if anyone, he avoids everybody else.
But he gets his shot at the Gypsy King, and hopefully news on that very soon. Tyson, thanks so much for joining me, and any final message to the fans?
Cannot wait to see you guys back live in action in the UK. I'm going to put on a hell of a fight. Be there, be square. All the best. God bless you all.